Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. Thursday edition. We've got much to get to, but I want to tell you right off the jump, if you're getting ready for gambling on college basketball, NBA, Winter Olympics, wherever you are, go check out my friends at sportsbookreview.com and make sure you get the best possible number. They collate all of the different locations, give you the best number in the business. Make sure you check everywhere before you place your bet and go through sportsbookreview.com for all of your info. It's time to get woke, boys and girls. Let me tell you where we're going today. Lots to get to. We're going to talk about the Florida high school shooting. We're going to talk about Fox getting the draft and maybe also the playoff game from ESPN. Coach Cal tanking as Bruce Pearl surges, the Jeep commercial, and the fury that has emerged from fish and river people upset about a Jeep Wrangler driving through a creek. And we're going to talk about the most important question being asked by any media member today. Can white kids wear Black Panther costumes, or is it cultural blackface, as the New York Times put it on the front page of their style section today? All of that happened and more. But before we dive into all these different stories, I want to remind you, make sure that you go right now. It's the spring. It's the spring. It's time to go ahead and get pre-qualified. You know how competitive it can be for homes wherever you are. Houston, Dallas, Nashville, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Chicago, wherever you are watching this show from. Atlanta, if I didn't name it. All these different markets that you guys are going to watch and consume this show from. You know how competitive it is to get the house that you want. Get pre-qualified right now by going to thehomeloanexpert.com. Don't wait until you find a home to find out whether or not you can get a mortgage. Get pre-qualified right now, and I will make sure that you can get hooked up with an Outkick VIP. As well, the SEC basketball tournament is going to be in St. Louis. My guy Ryan Kelly is giving away 11 seats to you. You and 11 of your buddies have the right to come hang out with me in a suite for those games. Go to thehomeloanexpert.com. I'll be there for games on Friday and Saturday. And if you do it, you will be hopefully having a good time, drinking beer, hanging out with me, watching the SEC basketball tournament in St. Louis. So go to thehomeloanexpert.com today and get hooked up right now. Okay. A bunch to get to, much to discuss. But let's start here with the Florida shooting. I'm crazy, I know. I am operating under a wild assumption. It is this. No one wants kids to get shot in America today. So what I would like to do is take a step back from the intense politicization where everybody wants to find a villain other than the shooter, where everybody wants to blame gun laws, or they want to blame Democrats, or they want to blame Republicans. What I would say is let's take a step back and actually consider what we've learned, okay? First of all, my biggest suggestion here that I don't see as being particularly partisan, that I don't see as being already entrenched. I understand, by the way, I understand the gun people out there who say we have a Second Amendment right to have guns. I was raised in the South. I was a kid with a gun in my hand at 5 or 6 years old, shooting at targets, learning how to hold a gun, how to hold a rifle, all of that stuff. So I grew up in what I would call a Southern gun culture. So I understand, I feel like to at least a large extent, gun people, your Second Amendment gun people, people who are law-abiding and believe that because the Constitution gives them the right to have guns, they should be able to maintain them. I also understand gun safety people out there who are saying, look, just because you have a right doesn't mean it runs unrestrainable in any way. And so rather than try to just be at loggerheads all the time, where people, every time there's a shooting, people come out and they argue about the motive, they argue about who's to blame, should the FBI have done it, was the weapon, should we have AR-15, should all these different questions. And frequently the people who are involved don't have much knowledge. So I've tried to read as much as I can on the gun control issue. I think even if one side got what they wanted. Let's say that tomorrow guns were banned. There's still 300 million of them in this country. Do you think that you could take 300 million guns off the street and somehow change the way that guns exist in this country? No. Do you think that you could somehow, on the flip side, that like guns should be basically for free. I mean, here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is this: nobody wants innocent people to die. And I feel like in the politicization over this issue, there's a real demand to try to make somebody evil, to try to make somebody a scapegoat. So here's what I would say. I try to avoid conflict, right? In essence, and this is going to surprise people, in essence, I try to find solutions. And I try to outsmart being someone who just puts on a football helmet and runs into a wall over and over and over again. Maybe this is marriage. Maybe this is why I try to avoid fights when I can. Here's a question that I think most of you would agree with. This is what I would suggest is my number one way to help to limit mass shootings. Here's a couple of facts to begin with. First of all, there aren't more mass shootings happening in America. When they happen, they are becoming more violent. Okay, so that's an important fact here when you actually look at the data. In the last 15 years or so, mass shootings aren't becoming more common. They are just becoming more deadly. My question on this is, I go to the essence of why is someone doing this? Why does someone decide to get a weapon and go kill people indiscriminately in some location? I think the reason by and large is because those people want to become famous. Whether you're shooting up a nightclub in Orlando, a school in Miami, Virginia Tech University, whether you are shooting Columbine, all of these different places, especially in a social media era, I think the gunman wants to become more famous. And so I've been sitting around thinking about this. I've been reading articles, and this may sound crazy, but I think there is a solution here that literally everybody would agree with. Why do we not stop naming and putting the photo up of the individual who is the mass shooter? This seems to me to be a decision that we have precedent for. Okay, let me explain the precedent. Rape shield laws exist to basically make sure that women, by and large, although I'm sure it can help men too in gay situations, gay relationships, that people who are victims of sexual assault do not feel like they need to hide and worry about their lives being ruined because they are victims. We have rape shield laws. And even though these women will testify in courtrooms, and even though they'll be named in court documents, they are not named publicly by the media because the media buys into the theory here, which is making women go public with their accusations actually detracts from the reporting of rape-related crimes. Now, as a result, women, in theory, don't have to worry about the top Google result for the rest of their life being insert person's name here was raped and you are the victim of a violent crime. So to me, what I find to be utterly fascinating here is this question. If the media can agree that rape shield laws work and make sense in cases of sexual assault, why could we not have a mass shooter shield also put up? You can still say who the guy is, his age, his gender, his background, all of these things, but don't share his image on major mainstream mass media. Don't share entire biographies, thousands of words that are going to be written about him. I think that the reason these men act, and they're all men, is because they want to become famous. And they know that the minute they kill a lot of people, they will surge into popularity. They'll be trending nationwide. That's the reason why people do this. If we can start to take away the motivation for mass shootings, then I think it will, in a larger context, make mass shootings less common. Here's a much less serious thing than the rape shield law. All of you are sports fans who are watching this show right now. What have they decided to do at sporting events for people who come running on the field during games? They immediately turn the camera off of them, and I've seen studies that suggest that as a result, running on the field has become much less common of an activity. That is, people are motivated, whether they're drunk, stupid, or whatever else, when they decide to run on the field or the court or anywhere else, they're typically motivated by a desire to get fame and attention. So if you can pull this away and that's why we do it on the field, right? That's why they don't show people who run onto the field. That's literally the logic. And if it decreases the motivation of people in that respect, why could we not do it here? Why could we not do it in this context? It seems to me that this is a thoroughly apolitical issue that lots of intelligent people could get behind. I also like it because, unlike guns, where every time there is a major controversy, people retreat into their old talking points. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. We need more aggressive gun safety laws, regulations on gun control, everything else. Take away the attention paid to the crazy person. Take away the attention paid to the psychopath. Focus more attention and energy on the victims. Here's what I want to point out too, and I'm doing this in myself. I haven't and won't mention the name of any shooter ever. I'm not going to spend time worrying about them, but I want to say this right now on the show, and I said it this morning on my radio show. Aaron Feist, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name. This is Sports Connection. He was killed in the Florida school shooting. He threw himself in front of children who were being shot at by the suspect, acting as a human shield. This guy should be the story. These kids who were the victims should be the story. All of the media attention should go towards telling their story and making them, if we want to make anybody famous, make them famous for the lives they led that were taken away, as opposed to making the shooter famous for the lives that he took away. This would be something that I would challenge everybody who's watching this to do. This is something that I would challenge you to do on your own social media feeds. I would encourage you to celebrate the lives of those who have been murdered and don't spend any time at all mentioning or discussing the guy who actually did the murdering. And again, I think this is an unfortunate kind of situation that we always end up in, where people, instead of trying to figure out what we can do that doesn't take mass political action, why can't we use the rape shield law and the not showing people when they run on the field as a lesson for what we could do when it comes to analyzing these shootings? Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a trained psychiatrist. I can't presume to get inside the head of somebody who would make this decision. But in all the readings that I have done, there seems to be a substantial component, a lot of people who are smarter than me on these issues, who would say the reason people are acting this way is because that's the overall motive, is to become more famous. People saying if we don't address mental health, I don't know how mental health becomes an issue here. I mean, and I'm not trying to be flippant about this. There are crazy people all over the world. I agree with President Obama when he said, we don't have a monopoly on crazy in this country. I don't believe that there are more crazy people in the United States than there are in Germany or Nigeria or Australia or any other country. I think by and large, mental illness is a function of larger populations. A certain percentage of people are going to be mentally ill worldwide. And by and large, I don't think it's going to be a function of where they're from. What we should do, I think, is figure out how a lot of the laws that we have passed consistently fail. I always am interested in that. For instance, the Charleston shooter who walked into the black church. That guy was specifically banned from being able to buy weapons. So everybody out there who says, oh, we need to pass more laws, frequently our laws are being passed and they are failing. And by the way, murder's against the law. Would I be interested potentially in looking at a law? And I believe this guy bought this gun legally, so I don't think we have that issue here. Would I be interested in looking at a law maybe that raised the purchase age of weapons to 21 years old? I think that is potentially a law that could make sense. If you say that you can't drink a beer until you're 21, because the reason why we have that law, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I think if you can go serve in the military, you should be able to buy a beer. But the reason we have that law is because we made the decision, you know what? Seniors in high school will buy beer for everybody else in high school. I don't think there's any doubt that happens. And so the reason why the drinking age is 21 is so kids who are in high school can't buy beer for everybody else. Well, if we're making that logic, if school shootings are a major issue, wouldn't it make sense to potentially not allow someone to buy a weapon until they're over 21 years old as well? Again, it's just me thinking out loud. If your concern is about somebody going back to school, I know the kid in Sandy Hook and everything else, but by and large, most school shooters tend to be people who are either students enrolled at the school right now, or they are within a couple of years of having left the school. Frankly, I don't know, if you can't get a rental car until you're 25 years old, and I think that's true, right? Like, I believe you can't rent a car legally until you're 25 years old? Is it 26 years old now? Is it a bad thing to also say you can't buy a gun until you're 26 years old? I mean, I think, again, those are interesting questions we should ask. If our concern is, hey, we can't trust a 20-year-old to rent a car, why should we trust a 20-year-old to buy a gun? I mean, I think these are just reasonable questions that, like, people can disagree with me, but these to me don't seem to be politically divisive ideas. Don't share the person's name. Don't share the killer's name. Don't and maybe consider raising the age at which you have to be able to buy guns. Again, that's not going to stop somebody from potentially getting an illegal weapon, which is oftentimes a challenge in these stories such as these. But I think, again, that seems to me like it to be a relatively reasonable position. And I think that is something that needs to be contemplated. All of these things I think would be interesting to debate. But to me, the media, I'm in the media. I'm not going to share a shooter's name ever, unless it's like a sports figure that you guys know or a celebrity that's already doing it. I will never, this is my pledge, and I would encourage other media members to take it as well. I will not share an article that writes about the shooter. I will not name the shooter on any social media account. This is my choice. I'm not banning First Amendment. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I just think it's better for the country if I make that decision, personally. And I will share the stories of the victims, but I'm not going to share the stories of the shooter. You guys don't have to agree with me on that, but that is my pledge. That's something that I think I can do that could have a tangible effect, given how large my audience has become. I'm going to try to never name another mass shooter, and I'm going to try to never share an article that names that mass shooter or attempts to examine his overall intellectual basis for his decision. Now, the only time I'll make an exception on that is if there is some mass shooter that is missing that we're trying to capture, because somebody will be like, you said you'd never share this. Look, if we're trying to find a criminal, trying to bring a criminal to justice, then I will share that story. But by and large, I am going to try to avoid sharing the name of any mass shooter, because I think that just encourages other mass shooters. Okay. Those are my thoughts on the shooting. Obviously, it's probably not as hot takey as a lot of the other stuff that people are sharing on social media, but I do think it's potentially more valuable, and it's certainly a pledge that you guys can follow as well. Share the stories of the victims. Do not share anything that would make the murderer more famous than he already is. And I would encourage other media members who watch this to make that same decision. All right, that's a serious topic. Let's pivot here. I've got a couple of less serious topics. This is, I think, a big deal in the world of sports media. I knew about this for a little while. The public is now gone public. Fox is going to have the NFL draft on Thursday and Friday. ESPN will still have it. Fox also stands a very good chance of getting ESPN's only playoff game with the NFL. And this is a question I asked on the radio show this morning. It's a question I asked as a poll question. I would like for a lot of you to start to think about this in an intelligent fashion. Is it possible? And because I think the answer is yes. Is it possible that the NFL is punching back at what it sees as unfair coverage from ESPN that has focused on tearing down the league, the NFL, as opposed to actually covering games? And what I mean by this is, I'm not saying that controversy is a bad thing when it's on court related. For instance, the NBA's got tons of controversy. But I think if I were an NFL owner and I felt like I was in a partnership with ESPN, and ESPN was telling me all the time that Colin Kaepernick is a hero and constantly praising everybody who is taking a knee, I feel like if they were telling you that it wasn't safe to play my sport, I feel like if they were telling you that the sport in general is under siege, I think that is a difference between covering the games and saying, look, this catch, no catch rule is bogus. I think there's a difference between covering controversies in the game and covering things that have nothing to do in a controversial fashion. And I think the NFL is fed up. We'll see with Monday Night Football, the contract that ends in 2020, whether the NFL is going to actually take all games away from ESPN. But I think this is a warning shot. I think this is them telling the NFL telling ESPN, we're sick of woke center. If you don't drop the woke center aspect the left-wing, far-left political coverage that you have embraced, we are going to pull our games off your network and we'll go elsewhere. I think this is a warning shot. I really do. I think this is the NFL letting ESPN know, guess what? We potentially are going to pull all our games out. Get out of the woke center business. By the way, a lot of you are asking for them. Go to Outkick.com. Go to our store. We now have woke center T-shirts. I would encourage you to go buy them. They are glorious. They are woke center T-shirts that all of the Outkick Army can grab. But I think that this is a story that you're going to have to pay a lot more attention to. Here's another interesting aspect. We talked yesterday about Comcast, Disney, and the potential for who's going to buy these Fox assets. Interesting story coming out of England. For a long time, we have gotten used to the idea that sports rights are only going to go up, right? That the only way that sports rights are going to go is to increase their pay. EPL rights, the English Premier League rights, which are obviously massive in England, just fell by 16%. Now, they had gone up a lot in recent years, but this is the first time I've seen a rights fee actually go down. That suggests that my theory that we're in an artificial bubble environment of sports rights, which is predicated on a cable bundle, which isn't going to continue to exist. I thought that was fascinating that we have seen that drop 16%. And so as a result, I would encourage all of you to pay attention to that and wonder, is that a harbinger of things that could come in the American sports rights universe, or is that just an aberrant result that doesn't necessarily apply elsewhere? I think that's an intriguing story that everybody else should follow. So that is an intriguing aspect of these. Okay, several other things that I want to chase here. Coach Cal. I think that Coach Cal, we're going to have this debate tomorrow on the show, which coach is more overrated, Jim Harbaugh or John Calipari? Which college coach is more overrated, John Calipari or Jim Harbaugh? That's going to be our poll question tomorrow. I'm giving it to you early. You guys can tell me which one you think is more overrated. I think it's a fascinating question because he's had every single aspect of Jim Harbaugh being overrated. Calipari's had much better players than Jim Harbaugh, and he's won one national title in 9 years. Jim Harbaugh took over at Stanford and had levels of success they hadn't had in decades. I'm curious to see what the reaction is going to be. Which of these guys is more overrated? But I want to give props. I've been a long time Bruce Pearl aficionado. Nobody believes in Bruce Pearl more than me. I saw what he did at Tennessee. I saw the 6 straight years of going to the NCAA tournament. This was and is an unbelievable basketball year for Auburn. Auburn right now on the precipice of getting a number 1 overall seed, which would be remarkable for the Auburn Tigers to lock up a number 1 overall seed. Kentucky has fallen to 8th in the conference. Remember all those ridiculous arguments Kentucky basketball fans used to make? They'd be like, we're the Alabama of basketball. And Coach Cal is the Nick Saban of college basketball. Nick Saban should be insulted that that was ever said about him at all. Comparing John Calipari and Nick Saban is like comparing a Victoria's Secret supermodel to your average girl who is 45 years old. There is no similarity between these people at all. Nick Saban is the greatest of all time in college coaching. John Calipari is at best an average coach who exploited a one-and-done loophole to be really a lot more talented than just about every team he's gone up against over the years. Coach Cal now 6-7. The Kentucky Wildcats are this year. Lost 4 games in the SEC in a row. Should have been 5 if Vanderbilt had not tanked. I think this is a really intriguing story to follow, to see whether Coach Cal is legitimately under pressure. He's also starting to lose all the top players. I think the pressure is going to get ratcheted up on Cal quite a bit now that Coach K is out there signing one-and-dones as well. All right, let's have some fun. 2 ridiculous stories. We talked about some serious topics. Let's have some fun with 2 ridiculous stories. First of all, this is amazing to me. How many of you watched the Jeep Wrangler commercial that aired during the Super Bowl? I was watching it. My wife watched it. We used to have a Jeep Wrangler. We lived down in the Caribbean. It has an incredible Jeep Wrangler, all right? It drives across a creek and then up a rocky embankment on the other side. And we watched it, and my wife was like, oh, that's so awesome. We got to go back and get a Jeep Wrangler. A Jeep Wrangler was awesome. We lived in the Caribbean. You could pull it right up on the beach. You could drive it off-road. It was amazing, okay? In our woke era, You're not going to believe this, but this is real. A man who is part of a fish organization is upset at Wrangler for endangering fish and also driving his Jeep in a stream. Fish lives matter indeed. This is real life. He said, fish are tough and resilient critters, but they don't do well with several thousand-pound vehicles driving over their spawning grounds, tearing up the gravel where they lay eggs. Why someone would want to put out the idea that you should buy a Jeep so you could drive it up a creek is incomprehensible to me. This is where we are in America today. People are offended on behalf of fish over a Jeep driving through water. Now, I'll tell you what. The purpose of advertising is to do what? Make you more likely to consume a product. Put a product in front of you and encourage you to go all in with it. That commercial made me more likely to buy a Jeep Wrangler. I got a place down on the beach now, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? I wouldn't mind getting a Jeep Wrangler, just taking the top off, only driving that Jeep Wrangler down at the beach with my kids all over the place. Pull it right up on the beach, just hang out like it's kind of perfect, right? And I saw that, and I thought, you know what else? If it started to rain a little bit, and I was concerned about driving through the water, I'd like to be able to drive through the water in a Jeep Wrangler in the road. Now, is it likely that I'm going to be off-roading, like driving through creeks and up the sides of embankments? No, I'm not that much of a badass. But I thought it was a pretty useful commercial, and this to me is just evidence of insanity when it comes to Woke Center, all right? Also insane. This, I don't know how many of you saw this. I read 2 newspapers every day. I read the New York Times and I read the Wall Street Journal, because it makes me smarter. It makes me I have more perspective covered. That way I can read the editorials on both sides. Unlike a lot of people, I challenge my opinions every day. My opinions might change. They might evolve. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any important facts that would otherwise change my opinions. You can imagine my surprise this morning when, after I did my radio show, I sat down and I read this. Who can wear the mask was the question. The question was, who can wear the mask? We're having some fun after serious talk about gunfire. I don't know how well you guys can see this. This is a picture from the New York Times showing a disappointed black kid with his mom, along in the background a white kid getting a Black Panther costume that they are sold out. We have reached such a ridiculously absurd level of wokeness that now people are like, is it blackface to dress up as the Black Panther, or are you culturally appropriating things? Which is amazing, because I've never heard any black kids accused of cultural appropriation when they dress up like Superman or Hispanic kids or anything else. Here's the truth of the matter. What makes America great is that we take the best from everywhere else, aka our melting pot, we put it all together, and then we end up with something that's better. That's what makes America great. Unlike other countries that are so committed to their historical irrelevancy that they don't allow anything to change, in America we bring in the best of the world, and then we decide, you know what? This is awesome. I want more of this. We decide, you know what? This salsa is pretty good. You know what? Tacos are pretty good. You know, this Italian food is great, but let's do a little twist and let's create pizza. All of America is about taking what did exist, mixing it, and making it better. That's not cultural appropriation. That's called being an American. We take the best that the world has to offer and we make it better. That's literally what we do as a country. And that's why I am so disgusted when I see all of this talk about how everybody needs to have their particular little thing.